Hello and welcome to Insights, the podcast with your host, Joe Pane. Join me in this deep exploration of our personal journeys from ambition to meaning, where we stop living life fast and start living life deep. This is a journey of waking up and realizing that our lives have never been about us, but about others. True success leaves positive ripple effects on other souls. I believe that success needs to be redefined from our own personal ambitious endeavors to be redefined as the value that we leave and give to others around us. Join me now as we begin this journey to deeper connections, even more fulfillment, some fun, curiosity, life, love, and all good things. Your deeper journey from ambition to meaning starts right now. Well, hello, it's Joe here. Welcome to episode 10. Thank you so much for joining me. So this episode today, I want to share with you some thoughts around the statement of we become what we react to, that we become what we react to. So some fascinating thoughts I want to share with you on inner world dialogue. So let's hop straight in. I reckon the most crucial conversation that we can ever have is the conversation that we have with ourselves on a daily basis. You know, this filter-free, raw, unedited edition of our inner truths impacts our life experience, our life situations, and all the relationships that we have more than anything. The truth of where we psychologically live is determined by our inner reactions to life. We become what we react to. What we react to in life is a reflection of the themes that most often show up in our inner dialogues. To grow, develop, and harness the awareness of uncritically observing what we react to is a crucial skill, I reckon, in creating any form of change. The level of our inner dialogue flavors not only every experience we have, it also flavors the experience others have of us. Such a crucial point. It flavors the experience that others have of us. You know, most inner dialogues have become so habitual that we don't even notice them. We don't notice the impact it's having on our life. And we then falsely conclude that life is just how it is. I'll give you an example. If our inner dialogue goes something like this: I'm an idiot. This thought point will affect our attitude, our tone, our body language, and what conversations we will or will not engage in. You know, body language accounts for over 50% of communication. And if our attitude or inner world belief system is that I am an idiot, if that's what we believe about ourselves, it's going to affect how we actually hold ourselves just walking around or how we enter a room. So our inner dialogue, and this particular example, colors all relationship experiences. If my inner dialogue is that I'm an idiot, I will tend to hide energetically, emotionally, and spiritually. I will avoid any potential experiences where people will discover my so-called inner truth. I'll minimize all engagement with my eyes and attention. I will tend to disappear from people's lives for long periods of time without explanation. The idiot theme, if gone unchecked, unrealized, and not changed, becomes projected onto others. We then have an over-the-top reaction to another when they do something idiotic. The over-the-top reactions are our projections. Projections are unfulfilled inner frustrations, which we haven't dealt with, so we'll project them onto others. You know, one of my favorite quotes that I share with my live rooms is that, I say to them, I am the projector and you are my screen. And really everyone else is just that, a screen to us. And the whole concept of projection comes from the wonderful work of the psychoanalyst that you've heard me refer to a couple of times in these episodes, called Carl Jung in the 1920s. So back to we become what we react to. For us to change anything in our lives, we first need to decide to begin changing the tone of our projections, or in other words, our inner dialogue. Change will never be derived from something externally to us, because all perceptions of our external world are interpreted through the filter of our self-concept. And when our self-concept changes, everything externally changes. Our self-concept or our identity is ruled by a whole range of convenient assumptions known as our beliefs. These assumptions are not based on fact, but merely patterns of behavior we have learned to engage over time in order to create some kind of consistency in our interpretation of what we are experiencing. We work so hard in trying to make all of our experiences fit into what we assume to be true. Anything that can't fit into our assumption range, our belief range, is either labeled a miracle or severely judged away through a negative emotional reaction. We can get so caught up in our assumptions over time that we find to change them very, very difficult. We forget that we created these assumptions in the first place in order to belong, to be loved by someone, somewhere. Our perception can be that we have complicated how we change an assumption, and sometimes we need outside help to get us unstuck. It's been said that complexity is the enemy to all execution. Our inner dialogue is run by the ego, and the ego is fundamentally a survival mechanism. And in order to survive, control of some kind needs to be wielded. And the ego wields that control via a secret addiction to certainty. Because of this secret addiction to certainty, our egos tend to have an unhealthy relationship with uncertainty. In order to avoid the unknown, the ego secretly loves complexities of all kinds because it knows that we are highly unlikely to embrace a new adventure or a new thought or a new focus point or a new inner dialogue or a new upgraded, updated self-concept that if we make it complicated, we're not going to go through with it. All complex thoughts can be simplified because, and get this, guys, all change, and this is a thought, just like any other thought, but this is a great thought. All change is only one thought away. All change is only one thought away. I'll give you an example of this in a moment. And thanks to the words of Wayne Dyer, that's from Wayne Dyer, that quote. All change is only one thought away. So how's that for a thought? A thought is like a radio station. It's just a station. It's just one station of many stations. One station is no better than any other station. Just like classical music is no better than a rock music or rock station. They are just different. So let's go into an example of what I'm talking about. A little while ago, in a workshop that I was delivering, a man put his hand up to share how for 7 years he had been, and these are his words, he had been battling something massive. Listen to the language. Battling something massive, huge, hard, and scary. That's what he called his problem. Wow. He had wanted to change his name. So his identity, his self-concept, that's what he'd been battling with for 7 years, the thought of changing his name. He had complicated this decision over these years using what's called what-if thinking to hold himself back. What-if thinking is when someone tries to interpret what the future may bring if they make a certain decision. It's the ego controlling the future. Often this deepens our complications of our interpretation of reality. What-if thinking is another avenue for the ego to meet its secret addiction to certainty. It knows that if we place our attention or our thought or our inner dialogue, our self-concept, our radio station, on trying to solve a problem that we don't have yet, we get to avoid taking responsibility of resolving the problems that we do have. I'll say that again in a different way. What if thinking is trying to solve a problem that you don't have, which takes your focus away from the current radio station of today, which is trying to resolve the current problems that we have. What if thinking is one of the ego's favorite strategies of distracting us from what's on our plate right now to get us to focus on future problem that doesn't exist, FM. So we therefore get to avoid making a decision of what is on our plate, as I said, right now, because we are tuned into this what if, sort of radio station. We can only listen to one station at a time, and that station is our reality in that moment. And the reality in the moment is not what is actually out there. It's what we are projecting through our projector of our inner dialogue of what we choose to experience out there and how we choose to experience it out there and the meaning that we place on the experience that we're having out there. So we have a choice all the time. What if FM, or let's do this FM, or any other of hundreds of self-concept stations that we can make up. Back to my fellow in the training. He had been complicating this decision of changing his name by being worried, scared of the impact of this massive, huge, using his language, massive, huge decision would make on all parts of his life. He had become a master of what if thinking. Sometimes, in my personal coaching space, we can ask a simple, innocuous question which can completely change the direction of someone's life. There's nothing like a well-timed, well-targeted question. So I then shared with him to take nothing away. I said to him to take nothing away from the significance and clear importance of this decision for you. What if it wasn't? What if it wasn't massive, huge, and complicated? What if it was simple? Now, I could ask 100 people that question, guys, and get very minimal response. But this guy, because of his what if thinking, this was well-targeted, well-timed, because in this one moment, his heart started to race. He began rubbing what seemed to be very sweaty palms on his legs, slowly moving back and forth with his body as he released 7 years of tension and stress in what it took to hold on to attempting to decide. In this one moment, it was like I'd given him permission to just simply decide. For all his right inner reasons, without needing to defend or justify to anyone why, he had decided. The release was palpable. The release was magical. Different thought, different station, different experience. We become what we reacted to. And he reacted to, what if it wasn't? It was simple, elegant, and beautiful. He's changed his name and loving the joy of his new self-concept. It can be that simple if you know that it is. We become what we react to. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little mini rant, or whatever you want to call this, episode 10. Thank you for being with me on the journey. As of the time of this recording, we're heading very quickly toward 2020. It's currently the first week of December. And, I just can't believe it's the end of a decade. I mean, I didn't realize it was the end of a decade until someone just said it like that to me the other day. It's incredible. We're about to enter the third decade of the 21st century. That is remarkably fast. So I hope that, you're either living the life that you've always imagined that you would live, or certainly working toward that. I'll leave you with one more thought before we close the day today. Tony Robbins, I think it was, that said this. Most people, and think of this for the next decade, most people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in a decade. So I'll leave you with that thought, along with we become what we react to. Enjoy, and I look forward to reconnecting with you for the next episode 11 coming up soon. Talk soon. Enjoy. Bye for now. I'm Joe Pane, and you've been listening to Insights, the podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can now follow my insights on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to being with you again very soon in the next episode of Insights, the podcast.